You know that smell? The one you get when you crack open a fresh pack of Pokemon cards, all that cardboard and ink? Or the way a heated plastic distinctively smells when a Super Nintendo has been running for 3 hours straight and the vent is pumping out heat? That is what safety smells like. That is what my apartment smells like. And that's why I call it the sanctuary. Honestly, people worry about me. I can see it in their eyes when they come over, which isn't often because I don't invite people into the sanctuary unless I absolutely have to, which is basically never. They look at my walls, covered floor to ceiling in shelves of Beanie Babies, untouched blister packs of action figures, and those cheap glow-in-the-dark stars from Spencer's Gifts, and they think I'm stuck. They think I'm just hoarding old junk. They don't get it. Not at all. I'm not stuck. I'm protected. My name is Nathan, and I'm just trying to keep the timeline pure. I work as an admin assistant at a logistics firm downtown. It's exactly as gray and soul-sucking as you're imagining. My cubicle smells like stale coffee and copier toner, and I spend all day typing numbers into a spreadsheet that nobody ever reads. I wear the gray slacks, I nod politely at the water cooler, I play the part of the adult. But the whole time, I'm just waiting to clock out, get on the bus, and come back here. My apartment is small, maybe 40 square meters, but it's perfect. It's 1998 in here, always. I've taped thick cardboard over the windows to block out the modern streetlights because they're too bright, too blue. I have my 2 lava lamps going, one purple, one orange, and my massive VHS collection stacked up on the floor. Every day, the world outside gets louder, meaner, and more complicated. Out there, everything hurts and is confusing. In here, on my beanbag chair with a bowl of sugary cereal, nothing can touch me. I'm curating a museum of the only time in history when things were actually good. I just need to find the last few pieces, a specific lunchbox, a certain pristine copy of a magazine, to make the wall complete. Once the wall is complete, maybe the constant buzzing anxiety will finally stop scratching in my chest. I don't talk to my parents anymore. I haven't spoken to my sister in 3 years. They kept trying to ruin it, always calling me up and trying to talk about reality. My mom would leave these voicemails, crying, asking why I won't come to Thanksgiving, why I won't acknowledge things that happened years ago. She talks about healing and facing the truth. But here's the thing. I remember my childhood perfectly. It was golden. It was endless summers where the sun was always yellow, not that harsh white it is now. It was chasing the ice cream truck down the street, feeling the asphalt warm under my bare feet. It was cartoons on Saturday morning and parents who loved me and a house that was always clean. I know that's true. I have the toys to prove it. Why would I have so many toys if I wasn't happy? Sometimes though, and this is just between us, sometimes when I try to think about specific days, it gets a little fuzzy, like static on a bad TV channel. For example, I remember my dad was a great guy, funny, wore colorful ties. But if I try to remember the sound of his voice or what exactly happened when he came home late, the static gets really loud. It's like a white noise machine suddenly turns on in my brain, blocking everything out. My therapist, before I fired her for being a liar, said that's a defense mechanism. She said I was dissociating from severe neglect. She said the perfect childhood is a lie I invented to survive what I couldn't handle. She was an idiot. I'm not the one lying. The world is lying. The world got ugly and cold, and I'm the only one brave enough to admit that we took a wrong turn somewhere. I'm just trying to get back to the start. I'm just trying to stay in the warm, fuzzy glow of the television set. But lately, the static is getting louder and it's starting to bother me even when I'm holding my favorite doll, Princess, even when I'm completely safe in the sanctuary. I feel like something is scratching at the back of my skull, like there's a different movie playing underneath the happy one, and I'm terrified the tape is about to snap and show me something I can't handle. That's why I was looking for a sign, a way to prove my memories were real, not just something I made up. And then I found the flyer. It was tucked right under the windshield wiper of a beat-up car in the parking lot at work. It wasn't flashy or colorful like a real 90s thing, just plain black text on white cardstock. The Sanctuarium. Total immersion, historical reconstruction. Go back to the way it was. It felt like fate had finally showed up. It felt like someone had reached right into my brain and printed out my deepest, most desperate desire. The address was for a pop-up location in a warehouse district about 5 kilometers from my apartment. It was a sketchy part of town, all chain link fences and peeling paint. When I got there, it didn't look like a carnival or an arcade. It looked like a private clinic. Everything was white and chrome and terrifyingly modern. The floor was polished concrete that looked wet, and the light fixtures were those long, humming fluorescent tubes I hate. I almost turned around and ran back to the bus stop. I hate modern. Modern is cold. Modern is sharp edges and LED lights that hurt your eyes. But the receptionist, a guy who looked too polished, like a mannequin in a suit, told me it wasn't a game. He said Sanctuarium uses subconscious sensory data to reconstruct a one-to-one scale objective reality. I clutched my purse so hard my knuckles went white. I just want to see my living room. Saturday morning, 1998. Can you do that? We can reconstruct any environment stored in long-term memory. He didn't smile. Not even a little bit. It was creepy. I paid. It was expensive, half my rent, but I didn't care at all. The money meant nothing if I could prove my happiness was real. They led me into a back room, and there it was. Not a cozy chair or a retro TV setup like I'd hoped. It was a pod. A sleek, white, egg-shaped capsule that looked like something out of a sci-fi movie where people go to sleep for 100 years. My stomach did a weird, nervous flip. This wasn't nostalgic. This was clinical and scary. It smelled like antiseptic and ozone, the smell of a hospital, not a home. But the craving, the absolute desperate need to be back there in the golden time just to verify it was stronger than the fear. I wanted to prove to myself and to that scratching voice in my head that it really was perfect. I climbed into the pod feeling clumsy and awkward. The interior was padded, soft but firm, and it felt like it was swallowing me. The lid slid shut with a smooth, soft hiss that sealed out the warehouse air. For a second, I felt panic clawing at my throat. I was totally enclosed. Then a visor lowered over my eyes, heavy and cold. Initiating sequence, a computerized voice said, calm and emotionless. Target, 1998. Location, domestic interior. Synchronizing. For a second, there was just darkness. Then the light bloomed. I gasped. It wasn't like a video game with blocky graphics. It wasn't like a blurry, faded photograph. I was standing in the hallway of my childhood home, but it wasn't soft and warm the way I remembered. This was sharp, painfully sharp. It was high-definition reality, and it was too real. In my head, my memories are like old Polaroid photos, warm, fuzzy edges, everything bathed in a kind of golden hour glow. But this? I looked down at the carpet. In my memory, it was a plush, beige comfort. Here, I could see every fiber, and it looked stiff and flattened from years of use. And I could see the stains. There was a dark, jagged spill near the baseboard, a thick brown blob I didn't remember at all. I looked at the wall. The wallpaper, little yellow flowers, was peeling at the seams, curling away from the drywall. "No," I whispered, shaking my head. "This is wrong. The resolution is too high. My home wasn't like this." I walked into the living room, my legs feeling heavy, like I was moving through water. My heart was hammering against my ribs, not from joy, but from a creeping, icy dread. My toy chest was there. I reached out. My hand in the simulation moved perfectly with my real hand and touched my favorite doll, Princess. In the sanctuary, I keep a replica of Princess that is perfect and flawless. But here, the doll on the floor had matted, greasy hair. One of her plastic eyes was scratched out, leaving a jagged white scar on the vinyl. There was something sticky and dark on her dress, like dried juice, and the smell. Oh God, the smell. It hit me like a physical slap across the face. It didn't smell like pancakes and dryer sheets and my mom's perfume. It smelled like stale cigarette smoke. It smelled like damp drywall. It smelled like cheap beer that had been spilled and left to sour in the rug. I stumbled back, tripping over a dirty sneaker that was lying right in the middle of the floor. "Pause!" I yelled into the headset, suddenly desperate to escape. "Pause the simulation!" The world froze. The dust motes suspended right in the air. "Error?" The technician's voice came through my headset, sounding bored and distant. "The texture mapping is wrong," I said, my voice shaking and high. It's dirty. My house wasn't dirty. My mom kept it spotless. You're loading a corrupted file. Fix it." "The sanctuarium does not use pre-rendered assets, ma'am," the voice replied, like he was explaining something very simple to an idiot. "It pulls directly from the hippocampus and the amygdala. It reconstructs the objective sensory data you repressed. This is the raw feed." "You're lying," I screamed, tears pricking my eyes under the visor. "It's a glitch. It's too dark. I want the real version. I want the Saturday morning version." "I can increase the immersion levels," the tech said. "We can attempt a deep sync, but that removes all safety filters. It prioritizes sensory input over conscious narrative. We don't recommend." "Do it," I snapped. I needed to fix it. If I went deeper, I could force the happiness back. I could make the sun yellow again. Maximum immersion. Override the visuals. Give me the truth, you idiot. "Deep sync authorized." The hum of the pod turned into a roar that vibrated in my chest. The frozen dust motes began to dance again. The world didn't just unpause, it gained weight. The air grew heavy and hot, like a blanket was suddenly thrown over me. I turned towards the kitchen. The morning sun was streaming through the window, but it wasn't golden. It was a harsh,
blinding white beam that highlighted the grime smeared on the windows. I saw the kitchen table. It wasn't set for a family breakfast like a commercial. There was a single bowl of cereal, soggy, untouched, and next to it, an ashtray, overflowing with gray ash that smelled awful. Then I heard it, the sound of the front door unlocking. The static in my head, that white noise that always protected me, shattered. It didn't just fade, it broke into a million pieces. The door opened. Heavy boots on the linoleum. Thud. Thud. I knew that sound. My body knew that sound before my brain did. I shrank back against the peeling wallpaper, making myself small, just like I used to, instinctively. A shadow stretched across the hallway floor. It wasn't the funny dad with the colorful ties. It was a looming, swaying shape. I saw the hand first. Large, knuckles red and raw, hanging at his side. The figure stepped into the light. The sanctuarium didn't edit anything. It showed me the bloodshot eyes. It showed me the raised hand. It showed me the monster I had spent 20 years turning into a sitcom on repeat. He looked right at me, and for the first time in decades, I wasn't watching a rerun. I was live. "Daddy?" I whispered. The word tasted like literal ash in my mouth and felt alien on my tongue. In my head, in the version I've been playing on loop for 20 years, he smiles. He picks me up and swings me around the room. He says, "How's my little princess?" The sanctuarium didn't play that track. Instead, the man in the kitchen stumbled. He kicked the wall right by the fridge, leaving a scuff mark. "Where the hell is everyone?" he bellowed, his voice thick and slurred. The sound wasn't the boisterous laugh I told my friends about when they asked me about my dad. It was a roar. It vibrated in my teeth and made my ears ring. It was the sound of a predator in a very small cave. I tried to close my eyes, squeezing my lids together, but the visor wouldn't let me. It projected the image straight into my optic nerve. I couldn't look away from the horror. I saw the sweat beading on his upper lip. I saw the way his jaw worked, grinding his teeth back and forth like a hungry animal. "I tried to be good," a small voice whimpered. It wasn't me, not the 32-year-old me. It was the playback. It was 7-year-old me, recorded perfectly in the amber of my trauma. "Good?" He lunged, taking 2 sloppy steps. In the sanctuary, I have a memory of us wrestling, roughhousing. It's a happy memory. I fell down and we laughed. The machine showed me the physics of it. It showed me the velocity and weight of his arm. It wasn't a playful shove. It was a backhand. Crack. I felt the phantom pain explode on my cheek, so real I actually cried out in the pod. My head snapped back in the simulation. I hit the floor. The carpet scratched my face. Not plush beige wool, but harsh synthetic grit that smelled of mildew. "Stop it!" I screamed at the technician, my voice raw. "This isn't right! He loved me! We were playing! Stop lying!" But the scene kept going without any pause. I saw myself, tiny, wearing a dirty pink shirt, scramble backward, crab walking away from him as fast as I could. I wasn't laughing, not even a little bit. I was sobbing, hyperventilating, my face wet with snot and pure terror. "Change the channel," I begged, my voice cracking. "Please, just change the channel. Put on the cartoon." The man loomed over me, blocking out the light from the window. He grabbed the collar of my shirt with his big, meaty hand. "You think you're special? he slurred. Spittle hit my face. It was warm. It was so real, I gagged and felt the need to vomit. You're nothing. You're just another mouth to feed that I gotta worry about. He threw me. I flew backward and slammed into the kitchen table, the cheap wood digging into my back. The bowl of soggy cereal tipped over. Milk, sour, warm milk, splashed over my legs and soaked my clothes. The overflowing ashtray fell off the table. Gray ash coated my arms like grave dirt. This was the accident, the one where I told everyone in school I fell off my bike and scraped my face. I remembered the bike. I remembered the scrape. But there was no bike. There was just him, breathing heavy, staring at me with dead shark eyes, his fists clenched. I tried to run, but my legs wouldn't work. The simulation locked me into the memories, blocking. I had to crawl, desperate and panicked. I scrambled under the table, curling into the tightest ball I could manage among the dust bunnies and the fallen ash. I squeezed my eyes shut tight, rocking back and forth and chanting my safe words. It's 1998. It's sunny. We're happy. We're happy. We're happy. But the machine whispered the truth in my ear, right past the chanting. You were never happy. You were just quiet.
The light cut out, instant and total. The smell of stale beer and screaming vanished, replaced instantly by the sterile scent of ozone and the cool air conditioning of the pod. The visor lifted with a soft, gentle mechanical whir. I was back in the white room. The pod hummed beneath me, cooling down quickly. Session complete, the technician said. He was typing on a tablet, not even looking at me or the puddle of sweat I was in. Your vitals spiked there at the end. We call that a cathartic breach, standard for this depth. I couldn't move. My hands were shaking so bad I couldn't unbuckle the straps across my chest. I just lay there, staring at the perfectly straight lines of the ceiling tiles. I felt hollowed out, like someone had taken a melon baller to my insides and scooped out everything that made me me. The sanctuary inside my head was gone. The walls of Beanie Babies, the glow-in-the-dark stars, the endless reruns, they had all burnt down to nothing in the last 5 minutes of that simulation. You okay to walk? The tech asked, finally looking up. He looked bored, like he was checking the time. He'd seen 1,000 people like me. I nodded slowly. I didn't trust my voice to stay even. I stumbled out of the pod and into the lobby, leaning against the cold chrome desk for a second. The street outside was gray. It was raining, a cold, miserable drizzle that soaked through my flimsy work clothes instantly. A car drove by, honking aggressively, the sound grating on my raw nerves. Usually, this would send me spiraling. Usually, I'd rush home, dive into my beanbag, and put on a cartoon to block out the ugliness of the present. But as I walked to the bus stop, shivering, I realized something important. I didn't want to go back to my apartment. I didn't want to look at the dusty, pathetic toys that were supposed to be my shield. I used to think I was an exile, a princess kicked out of her golden kingdom, waiting for the day I could return to the golden age. That lie kept me warm. It made the loneliness bearable because I thought I was special. I thought I had lost something beautiful and worth fighting for. But I hadn't. I stood there in the rain, watching the water swirl into a dirty gutter. The static was gone. My head was silent. It was terrifyingly quiet, but it wasn't painful. I wasn't a princess. I was just a survivor. And that museum I built in my living room, the one with all the toys, it wasn't a shrine to a happy childhood.
It was a mausoleum for a little girl who spent her whole life hiding under a dirty kitchen table, waiting for a monster to stop screaming. The bus pulled up, its brakes hissing. I got on, paid my fare, and didn't look back at the warehouse.
Thank you so much for watching or listening. The things that go bump in the night are hungry for attention. By liking and subscribing, you're telling me you want more. You're helping me bring even more chilling tales and terrifying content to life.